The report stated that Nichols focused too much on the reputation of the church during his tenure rather than the welfare of children and the impacts of child sexual abuse on victims and survivors. My school moved priests accused of abusing boys in my school. My school moved priests out of the school and put them in parishes 100 miles away without doing anything to address their behaviour, to alert the authorities, or to help the boys that had been abused. Again, protecting the reputation of the institution. How many of those stories have you read about in the newspapers? My prep school, where I went between the ages of 7 and 13, a middle-aged white man was jailed 3 or 4 years ago for abusing over 10 of my classmates. Do you know his name? You might do, because I've mentioned it a few times. Another teacher from that school is currently serving time in prison for abusing my classmates. Do you know his name? Have you seen his photograph in the Daily Mail? Are there websites and Facebook pages dedicated to describing the culture of sexual abuse in boarding schools in Britain over the last 100 years? No, there are not. And then today, on the front of the Daily Mail, quite rightly, just for the avoidance of doubt, because I appreciate some professionally stupid people like to weigh into conversations such as this one, for the avoidance of doubt, they should all be castigated, they should all be hauled over the coals, and they should all be held up for public disgust. My question, when I eventually stop burbling, will be, why aren't they? What decides it? Because the front page of the Daily Mail today quite rightly features the case of a woman, you've heard Nick discussing this already today, quite rightly features the case of a woman who is set to be released from jail after what many of us consider to be an inappropriately short amount of time. You remember the case of the nursery nurse, who was found to have abused children, front page of today's Daily Mail. Why wasn't my former teacher there? Scale, age of the victims? I genuinely don't know. But I do know this, okay? Number one, the so-called Asian grooming gangs, or the Pakistani grooming gangs, or the gangs predominantly consisting of men who would probably tick Muslim on a census box, but are not recognisable as followers of that religion in any meaningful way. They get coverage on a scale that is utterly, utterly huge compared to the coverage that Catholic priests get. So this idea that somehow the government or the establishment has colluded in keeping these stories quiet only works with people who are too thick to work out where the news channel is on their televisions. It only works. The suggestion that Muslim grooming gangs have been covered up, sent into a radio programme like mine that has been talking about this issue since 2011. It's been on the front page of the Times since 2011. But, of course, if I clocked the fact that you don't follow the news, you don't know what day it is. If I told you a bunch of Muslims were abusing our children and I'm the only person that's going to tell you about it because the news won't go near it, just don't watch the news, whatever you do. Otherwise, this isn't going to work as a grift, as a con, as a money-raising exercise. Send me money and I will make little videos telling you about stuff that's already happening in a court. Yeah, but they're doing it in secret. It's in a court. See?